Stay in a receptionist's place? Okay, this post is long AF. Context. I worked front desk at an optical store for 2 years. I had no experience and knew nothing about eye health when I started. Over time, I learned to do contact lens training, how to work the machine for glaucoma testing, visual field testing, how to adjust glasses, and a little bit about sales. There was a fire and we had to relocate, which brought on a lot of stress to boss lady. We'll call her ma'am. We ended up losing our tech who did the contact lens trainings and visual fields and our lead optician. Being the type of person who doesn't like to see others struggle, I always offered to help whenever I could, especially if the patient was nice. When we reopened, Ma'am's husband came to work at the office as manager, which at the time I thought was nice because I'm sure she needed the extra support. We'll call him Sir. He knew nothing about optical, so he was also training while managing. The problem started on opening day with Sir and I. He wanted to play meditation music and forest sounds. Everyone else wanted general pop and regular music. Since I had access to the speaker, I would adjust it for them. He loved the new space. I missed the old space, but never spoke bad about the new one. If the office was busy and a pair of glasses needed to be adjusted, I'd offer to help, and in front of the patient he'd yell, "Do you know what you're doing?" One time I turned to him and said, "I've been doing it longer than you." I'm sure he didn't like that. Lol. We had a meeting where he had no bad comments about my work but told me I make him want to leave. Lol. He would report every word and minor mistake I made to ma'am, and she would send me random texts about them outside of work hours. I never got in trouble for anything, but it was annoying AF. Story. On one particular day, I was doing mostly contact lenses trainings and a patient called about a contact lens being stuck in her eye. These were considered emergencies, so I told her to come in and see the doctor. Ma'am. When the patient came in, she looked really uncomfortable and asked how long until she's seen. Me being the helpful person I am, I offered to take a look until she could see the doctor. When I took her to the back, I tried taking out the lens and couldn't find anything. I told her this, and she looked discouraged. I said to her, "I don't see or feel anything, so you'd be better off waiting for the doctor. And that ain't me." She laughed it off. I told her I'd been doing trainings all day and was hoping to help her and apologized. She said it was okay and sat in the front. Apparently, she went into the room and ma'am told her there were no contacts in her eyes. The patient said that the nurse told her there's a lens in her eye and she wanted ma'am to double check. Ma'am was really upset about this because she had to spend extra time explaining to the patient that I was nothing more than a receptionist when she came out. She made sure to berate me in front of the patient and my coworkers. I just nodded. Even after work, she pulled me aside to ask what I said to the patient, and I told her every word. Still, she felt the need to tell me that I make her job harder by misinforming patients. She said I should stay at a receptionist level and not help anymore because it causes trouble. I was shocked by how she spoke down to me and still believed that I told the patient I was a nurse and she had something in her eye. All I could muster up was, "Okay." After that day, I no longer did contact lens trainings. So now appointments are 45 weeks out instead of 1. I no longer assisted in visual field tests. I put them all on her schedule. Now we don't have any availability for regular appointments until a month and a half later. I stopped offering to help opticians. So if one person was scheduled, all patients will have to wait for that one person for all adjustments, orders and dispenses. That one had patients up their asses with complaints. Lol. If anyone had a question about anything unrelated to front desk, I couldn't help them. Even when she would ask, I just told her I didn't feel comfortable doing anything outside of reception anymore. I eventually quit and now work somewhere with a much higher pay and benefits. They've lost a total of 5 out of 11 employees in the span of 1 year. And I heard 2 more are quitting before the end of the year. Edit. The tech didn't die. They quit. Ma'am's line of thinking. Worker never gives me any trouble. New manager comes in and starts complaining about worker. I do not evaluate worker's past history. Instead, I take the NM at face value and scold the worker. I also blame and yell at the worker for what could well be a patient's mistake. What? You're leaving? We? Backslash 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 backslash. Also, since OP's job was almost certainly hourly pay, in the US they could have charged time for every outside of schedule text. Hard to believe the boss couldn't see the problems her actions would cause. So, have you seen the contact lens dispenser on our WTF recently? I can't find the original post, but I have the video link. https v.red.it/dg3key60n0a1/1080.mp4. Error. Warning about the video. That how it is for many, even in good companies. They quit bad bosses. Actually, I don't know how optical stores outside my country, but in mine, receptionist can't do optical works. Because you need to be an optical technician. Also, a lot of tests are done by an ophthalmologist. Doctor. In shops only offers and assemble glasses. No doctor presence. No glaucoma test also. Doctor do this. Is like tremendously unregulated the health services around the world. Sounds like you were performing duties you were most likely unlicensed for and opening up your company to lawsuits. Like, what if you messed up that lady's eye and she sued? The business would have zero ground to stand on. That's hilarious. No good deed goes unpunished. The fact you repeat sir and ma'am so much tells me you should have left a long time ago. I work as an everything for an optometrist, and I swear to God your situation sounds exactly like a neighboring practice where they had a fire. Husband came to work as an office manager, and half the staff quit because of micromanaging from the doc and her husband. Do you live in Utah, by chance? I understand you were helping out, but if you weren't specifically trained and officially qualified to do the tasks, you shouldn't have been doing them. And you were definitely not being properly compensated for being super receptionist. I think to avoid harm to patients, lawsuits at worst, and also issues like you experienced, it's generally better to stay in your lane. Ma'am needed to hire a few more qualified employees to do the things you were helping out with, so as to not get so backed up. I can see ma'am's point of view here, but the delivery was very poor. There are many times in my profession where I need to advise receptionists to not give people information, but the way I present it is very different. I tell them they are not the problem. Usually the client is. The client would lie to the receptionist and instigate for an answer. Then they would use that answer the receptionist gave them to test the person they are working with, and would argue with that person using information from another source. So my approach is to request them to just not make any comments to clients on anything that's not within their work description to avoid a hassle for the team. And if they want to move up in the company, to let me know so I can put in a good word. But the point being that clients are sketchy and you don't want to make it a harder job for anyone else, because no one wants to have a work argument over a client's lies. Nice. Sadly, as a customer, I wouldn't have noticed any of these problems. It's a doctor's office. I have to wait a long time to get an appointment. I would have noticed it went from 1 week to now 4 weeks. But I would never think to complain about anything.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epicaricast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.